Welcome to Positive Filter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. Hey, Positive Filter listeners, it's Philip Wilkerson, a.k.a. Ill Phil, a.k.a. Mount Vernon's Finest, a.k.a. I'm just making these up as I go along, a.k.a. the most random person you know, a.k.a. I'm not a rapper, but I got fire hooks, a.k.a. Host of Positive Filter. And I'm joined by a lovely guest. He'll introduce himself real quick.
Ashwood Heffern here, known by friends and family as Woody, a.k.a. the Oracle of Partnerships, a.k.a. Dubs. And just happy to be here.
Oh, that's great. And so, so I'm going to make all my guests do that from now on. Shout out to my boy, Greg, who is the master of 10 aliases. So we here on Positive Filter, I love to bring in a variety of guests. And I brought in Woody today because if you are familiar with TED Talks, or more specifically, TED Talks Tyson's, he is the mastermind behind organize them, and I think TED Talks is a wonderful, wonderful event because I think creative minds and sharing ideas through the spoken word is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I don't know, I just feel like I'm just going off the dome. But before we go into that and what is the benefit of storytelling, I just want you to give the listeners a little bit of a quick synopsis of who you are and how you got to this point of organizing TED Talks.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. And I would have to say the only way anyone can get this far with this volunteer initiative is with a rock star team. I mean, this is, again, whenever you see an X in the title, it's an all-volunteer team. So I'm one of three founders, and we all have different skills that we bring to the table. We complement each other nicely. So the three of us were sitting in a meeting in Tyson's, and I had just come from a TedX Foggy Bottom event, actually. Okay. And I connected with the organizer afterwards and told him, like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. How hard is it? What's it going to take? And he was like... It's exponentially harder than you think. It's exponentially, yeah.
It's harder. So he said harder. Okay,
harder than you think. Okay. How much time do you have? Do you have a team? And I was like, no. But I got excited. Anyways, fast forward a couple months, I was sitting in this meeting, and this group was talking about how they held an event in Tyson's, and there was a space for 40, but only about 3 or 4 people showed up.
Oh, 3 or 4. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any organizer's worst nightmare. You do all the work, you get the room, you get the space, you get the speakers. And then no one shows up. You throw the party and no one comes. And I just kind of pulled the flyer, the program that I still had from the TEDx Foggy Bottom event, and said, "Hey, have you guys heard of TEDx?" And 2 people had heard of it. Those are now my 2 co-founders. The 3 of us. Nice. Then and there, we're like, "This is it. We're bringing this to Tyson's. I can't believe no one's done it before." Yeah. And we went for it.
I love that. And the first thing I love about any of this is that there's 2 things that I pull from your story. Is one, life is random as hell. Like just the fact that, you're in that spot and you just were...
Didn't know anyone else in the room. Didn't know a single person in the room.
And you inspired, and then you took the initiative from being inspired to ask questions. And number 2, usually that's how any good idea happens, or you're, you just see something that you want to do, and you go up to the person that does it and say, hey, how do you do that? And, in whether that's mentorship or, just getting ideas for the next step for your career, it's usually like, hey, I saw that person do it successfully, which you saw a successful Foggy Bottom, and you just went up to them and say, how do you do it? And then most times when people hear someone say, hey, this person's interested, they can, they empathize and see how it used to be like you. Yep. And they say, okay, I'm going to give back because maybe
someone did it for them.
Yeah, maybe the guy that organized Foggy Bottom, someone helped him. And it's just it's a train.
Yep.
And that's usually
how
it
we've
works.
done the same now with TEDx MITRE. We've talked to the new TEDx in Alexandria. We've talked to the folks across the board. TEDx Herndon, we talked to them a lot. we have the friends that organizers TedX Ashburn. Like we all talk and we all help each other.
It's like a network.
It really
is. It's basically a club, like anything, like almost
it
like
really
CrossFit.
is. It really is.
CrossFit, Colts, anything like anything is where you see it work well. You know, I'm pretty sure the dude like Jim Jones probably had some inspiration. No, but I mean, in all seriousness, it's pretty amazing. Now, what is your? Now, let's even go back further into the artist. What was one of your exposures to just TED anything? So, like before you went to the Foggy Bottom, you just watched the YouTube videos?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, I was snowed in one of these DC blizzards. I forget which one it was. Snowmageddon, something like that.
Yeah.
And I just went on a binge. I just went on a TED watching binge because I was always so blown away. And I must have caught like one event because before I had only watched one kind of at a time.
Yes.
And randomly I must have caught an event and I 6 or 7 speakers from and I was like, oh man, I didn't realize that was even the context or the format in which they're delivered because I'd only ever seen them broken up.
Amazing.
And then I started to think back to like who I've worked with in my life, who I knew, and I was like, man, there's some pretty incredible people.
Yes.
I wonder if like there's if they could take the TED stage. And I was like, I wonder who organizes these things. And so then I went to the TED website and started digging around. Yeah. And I found out that, hey, there's like an application form, just like there's to nominate a speaker or to become a TED speaker or TED fellow. There's a form to fill out to become a TEDx organizer.
To be an organizer. Okay.
So then you go through a pretty grueling process. They want to know kind of who you are and what you're about to do. And they obviously want to protect the brand that they built over 15 years, and then they kind of help you through the process. They ask you questions, and then if no one else has that kind of naming convention, if no one else is serving that community, you can be one of the now I think 8,100 TEDx organizers in the world.
8,100. Okay. And do you have to go through a training camp, like a job training camp?
Or? No training. It's a back and forth typically. At least we didn't get it right out of the gates. We had to adjust. We had to modify the first theme, and we had to have some things, and we had to bring in like where we were gonna do it, things like that. Because the first time organizer, again, they want to make sure that you're serious because it's a huge undertaking.
Do they have like an auditor like that goes around with like a TEDx notebook and be like, they're breaking the TEDx rules,
the only thing they do,
snitch on you,
They watch your videos afterwards.
Okay, they
so
watch
they can see.
Okay.
So they can see before they get posted online. They watch. They get the final click to post the videos online. So we submit them.
Gotcha.
So they'll see the content, quality control content that way.
Yes.
But then they'll also kind of, I think, push back in good ways. Say, hey, like, what if we did this? Or your speakers, they give you feedback from the event itself. Hey, your speakers all kind of focused in heavy in tech, or they were all heavy in inspiration, or they were all heavy in this like broad swath. We want all ideas. So go for more like random ideas that are just like, hey, who's ever heard of so and so do a sumo wrestler do a talk on healthy eating? Like, go think outside the box, because I mean, sumo wrestlers are professional athletes. They have, but that would be an amazing TED style talk.
They want different diversity of ideas.
Yes,
basically.
Exactly.
Now, and so like, do you have to like pay grand dues like a franchise to McDonald's? Like like a CrossFit gym. And I keep on going back to that, but I'm just thinking like the franchise mentality. Like, for you to use CrossFit, whatever, you got to pay. Headquarters,
absolutely.
$1,000 a year, and then you can say you're CrossFit something.
We don't pay in cash, but we pay in blood, sweat, and tears.
And ideas,
sweat equity.
Do you have to do a certain amount of events then?
So we do one big event a year, and then if we do the salon license, which is smaller events, you have to do 3. So you could do as many as you wanted, but you have to do one main event.
You have to do a main event. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's the obligation.
Yes.
One main event. And then
you can get additional licenses to do other kinds of events. There's the salons. There's TED Live, where you can organize an event to watch the main TED HQs like TED in a movie theater somewhere, or you can organize a live viewing of it somewhere. Nice. So there's a bunch of variations on TEDx youth events. You can help organize those, things like that. There's a bunch.
And then all the colleges do them now.
Yes, absolutely.
Shout out to TEDx Mason. I know some kids, my students, that do them, and they have like a whole club, actual club. So, and then I've seen some high school kids are starting to develop it. So this is growing. So like I definitely shout out to the plug TEDx, but I really want to talk about your journey. I don't want think that I only have you on the podcast. I want to talk about you, And one of the things I also, you've shared with me is that you're a writer, especially for children's books, and more particularly not just a writer, but like I think it stays along with the theme of storytelling. So take us back to the young Woody, just your love of telling stories and I don't know, just creating and writing. Were you always writing in a notebook when you were a kid? Take us back to the beginning.
It was probably because I had such a big family. I have 4 sisters.
Okay.
And parents, and we were a pretty solid unit because we moved a lot.
Okay.
Like similar to a military family, we move every 3 years. I was a foreign service brat, so it was like my father worked in embassies. Okay. But as a cohesive unit, we moved a lot.
Okay.
And so, and we were honestly at the dinner table every night as a family. We were fortunate enough to, no matter how long my mom or dad was working, they were home. We were eating, and we were having conversations at the dinner table. Like we were talking, we were telling stories, we were talking about our day. We were listening to what my mother did when she's an occupational therapist with her students. We were listening to what my father did, with his colleagues. We were listening to how my mother helped someone that literally couldn't tie their shoes learn how through games and storytelling and different things, the skills that they need to accomplish and tackle every day. Right. And then we were listening to my father tell us how he helped negotiate a big treaty with NATO, with other allies.
Nice.
And it could be we were at a dinner table at a party or whatever, and we would have adults sitting next to us that were guests, and we would have to be able to hang. Like, we'd have to hold our own in that conversation, in that banter. And so from a young age, it didn't matter who I was sitting next to. You had to talk. You had to tell a story. And that was the easiest way to keep and have someone's genuine attention. It must have been that. Like, it has to be it.
And then what about the part of just like, I don't know, fast forward to you writing stories. I mean, that's a different style. Like, I feel like I'm I love telling stories. My wife, I would say, if I could say someone, like, I don't think she'd be comfortable talking in a stage, but I think one of the best storytellers that I know is my wife. She tells like hilarious stories, and then as a tag team, me and my wife tell good stories. I think so, but she hates me because I jump in. Like, she'll say like, like she'll tell a story, and then I'll come over, and then they all died, and she's like, "Yo, you like literally went to the punchline, like
it's way too early,
way too early." But she's really got the good delivery.
Up the delivery.
Yeah, she's
well, there's different mediums.
She's a
honestly,
great one.
Different mediums for different stories, and the stage isn't right for every idea or every story.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome. And there's, there's the campfire story.
Yes.
There's the dinner table story. There's the hanging out, at the baseball game kind of story, or there's sitting out fishing, which I love, kind of story.
Yes.
And they all, have their own place. And then, like you said, there's the written word, obviously writing. I actually don't write much, to be honest. What I do is I have a really close friend that is an incredible author. And so I had this idea for a story as a diver and a fisherman about the plastic waste, single-use plastic issue. And my biggest concern is this thoughtless consumption. It's not even the plastic so much as it's the just not even thinking about something before you throw it away. Yeah. So if you get 6 straws in a bag and you don't need them, and then you just toss them, that's the problem. It's not if you need a straw and you use it, or if you want a straw and you use it. That's not even the worst part. For me, what doesn't keep me up at night, but it really hurts. It bothers me. Is that the thoughtless consumption of someone, at a store, you buy one thing, candy bar, whatever, soda, Gatorade.
Yes.
And then you wait for the person to put it in a bag, and then you walk out with it, and then you throw the bag out, or you just throw it on the ground, and then you get your Gatorade, and then you drink it. Like, no purpose, zero, whatsoever.
Yeah, like if you don't use the bag, I use all the bags for poop.
Yeah, I mean, that's
for my dog.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I mean, I'm not saying I'm Mr. Nature, but I'm saying like, you're right. Like you're right. I definitely agree with that. Like, just.
Think about it. Like, that's the thing.
Stuff.
Make the choice. Make the choice.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
And that's what I want kids. So the children's book is that.
Yeah.
Be proactive in your decision-making process. Like, if you want a straw, ask for one. If you need one, you should have no problem getting one. But like, if you don't, and if you don't let someone make that decision for you. Don't let companies, don't let businesses, don't let other nonprofits, don't let anyone make that decision for you.
I mean, it's deeper than a straw then.
Yeah. Oh, big time. And and so then I knew my buddy, who's a diehard conservation environmentalist.
Yes.
And we volunteered together for 2 years. Is an incredibly gifted author. And
Gotcha.
so I was like, hey, I have this idea for a story. And he was going out for 3 months on a boat, and we had volunteered on a boat for 2 years.
Yeah.
And he then I told him the whole story. I was like, can you make this real? He wrote it for a month, sent it back to me. I got the publisher, I got the illustrator. We edited it.
I see.
Sent it back out with our edits. He had another month. He sent it back in. We had another edit, sent it back out. He had one more month, and then I flew out to meet him and then meet the illustrator. We all sat down with the finished product, tried to get the illustrator to kind of see and understand what our vision was, and then to put the ink to paper, or in this case the paintbrush to paper, and depict the story in a way that made sense, and collect all the pieces. And it took about a year from the second I had the idea for the story till the day it was published on Amazon.
So what I'm hearing from this is maybe in regards to the meeting or storytelling, you're a really good organizer. So you delegate and you find the people that do have the skills, which is not a bad thing. I mean, like, you know,
So
like I said, half the stuff, like all the ideas that I have, I definitely, my main thing when I have good ideas is I say, okay, what can I do? And then what can I find other people that can do for me that are better than me? So like, you know, for instance, I'm not the best writer, but I wanted, you know, to publish an article at work. I wanted to have the article, but it's my ideas, and I just wrote it, and also talk it out. But I know someone in my office is a better writer, so I legit asked their help. Yeah. And so that's pretty much how I go through life.
This is so important. Ask for help.
Yeah.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Especially if it's going to help
and
give him credit.
And you also give them credit. You're like,
I couldn't do this on my own. I'm not even going to pretend like I could. This story would still be an idea in my head.
Yes.
I know that for a fact.
I agree with that. And I like the fact that it's all the commonality between storytelling and all this stuff is it goes back to the first thing that you brought up. You had an idea, and then you asked the people who already executed that idea before. Like you said, your friend is a writer. Yeah. He's probably already executed writing multiple times. You had an idea for a TED Talk or a TEDx. You talked to the Foggy Bottom who's already executed that. Mm-hmm. And so you definitely don't, discredit or take away that you had the idea. That's a very powerful thing to start with. But also you give credit or due to the people or the community around you to help you get to that idea. Or also just help in general, because as we know, we don't do that alone. But stories is crazy. I would be honest with you, like, I don't read. It's not really one of my favorite ways to digest stories. Mm-hmm. I love to. I think I can go on a binge of TED Talks. Yeah. Or
guilty, done that.
Or audiobooks. Or I love audiobooks or movies. The way I love stories, I don't like stories in books, and that's just me. I don't like. Yep. I like the same exact content of a story, just delivered to me differently. Mm-hmm. Like if someone, I had the book Game of Thrones, I have the actual tangible book, but I listen to the Audible, and I love the Audible more.
Is that a time issue or is that a reading?
No, I
thing?
mean like I just like
you fired up in the car or on the metro.
I do that. No, it's a attention ADD issue. Like I literally can't sit still. Okay. I love to listen. I can say, Alexa, play Game of Thrones, and just playing it in the kitchen while I'm doing something else, and I digest it that way, because Alexa and Audible, or like you said, in the car. Yep. I like to listen while I'm walking.
Yep, I'm a podcaster in the car or on the metro.
I'm a podcaster. That's it. I love podcasts in general, but I listen to everywhere. Mm-hmm. But I think for me, that's how I learn too. Like me doing this podcast with you and learning new ideas. If you wrote your journey about how you started a TEDx in a long autobiography, I'd be quite honest, I wouldn't listen to it. Yeah. But if I saw your life in a documentary. Mm-hmm. On a TV screen, or listen to you did an interview with someone else,
you'd be bored to tears.
No. I mean, no. I'm saying if you did an interview with someone else. If the book was, the book would be boring to tears. But if it's a legit interview, I love listening to interviews of famous people. It's the same exact thing. It's just that's the way I digest stories.
Awesome. No, it's important, and that's important to know.
Like how you digest stories.
Absolutely.
How do you digest stories?
I'm long form article type. Like I'm like an 8-page article reader. You
Okay,
know
that's
what I
my
mean? Like
max. I can tap out
it.
there.
Like that's what I mean. Like I love a economist length article.
Like a featurette.
Yeah.
Like a Times article.
Probably a little bit longer. A little bit longer than that. Like
pushing it to
yeah,
me.
yeah.
You got me at 8 pages. I could handle 8.
Yeah, that's because then I can make the decision, I feel like, based on information if I'm going to dig deeper.
Okay.
Or if that's the extent of it.
Yes.
So it's just like, I mean, there's this amazing discussion between people. Do you finish a book when you pick it up, or do you put it down as soon as you're done with it? It's not a debate that I guess we'll be having if you're on a book type.
I mean, I can give you like the cliff note. Like,
Yeah.
What's the debate? Like, what's the two teams?
Do you finish every book that you start,
no
matter what?
No,
or do you
not
shut it off? Yeah. So this is what people are. If you
Yeah.
ask them, there are a lot of people.
I'm gonna do a Facebook poll.
Yeah, do it. Yeah,
I'm
do
gonna
it.
do a
I'd be
Facebook
curious
poll.
what you get because a
All right,
lot
I'm
of people.
gonna tag you on that.
Yeah,
Right.
do it.
So
please.
you say what's the two questions?
Well,
if you pick up a book, do you
finish it every time, no matter what,
even if you like it or not?
regardless?
See, I don't even do that. I don't even do that with
obligated to
Netflix. I
finish.
mean, I think Netflix ruined that for me. For like, do you watch a show all the way through?
No, I've given up on a couple.
I mean,
shows.
even in the middle of the show, I've done that too. Like, I watched like half of an episode of Iron Fist. I love Marvel, and I would say I'm ride or die. I'm ride or die Marvel, Team Marvel, and I literally could not make it past 2 episodes of Iron Fist. That means like the story didn't capture.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
The first 2 episodes didn't grab me in.
I guess my question is,
off.
would you ever try and watch it again in a different time or headspace? Do you think it was you, or do you think it was you at that time?
I'm gonna do an experiment. I'm gonna go. This summer we go to the lake, where it's very quiet, and have the boys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch the first episode.
I'd be curious because I think you'll be in a different place when you try it.
That joint's trash, man.
Yeah. Well, but I am in the camp personally where put it down. Too many books to read. If it's not there, it's not there.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be later. It might be something I revisit.
Yeah.
But like I'm putting it down. I'm grabbing the next one.
That's true. And then also I've read another thing that this dude has a different relationship with books is that books are like conversations. So he's like, I don't finish any book, but I just pick up, and he doesn't even start from start to finish. He'll just open it and he'll just read whatever chapter he feels like reading for that day and then close it.
That would be tough.
So he says if it's like a self-help book, he'll go to the table of contents and be like, okay, I like this subject on page 10, and I'll read chapter 10.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted.
Okay.
And then he'll put it back.
Okay.
Like, but he'll legit be like, all I wanted from that book was chapter 10.
I like it. And again, this is the making that choice, and that's how you want to consume that information, that product, that thing. Like I think that's awesome.
I mean, there's so much, and I think in regards to telling stories, I think there's so much information that like, I mean, it's like oversaturation.
Yeah.
Like think about it. Like my friends, I got podcasts that I listen to, and I can't keep up with all of them.
What are your top 3?
I don't even know. I mean, quite honestly, I don't even have a top 3 because I just cycle through.
Okay.
And I would say shout out. I listen to people that are my friends.
Yeah.
Young, Black, and Unbothered is one. My podcast mentor, A Meaningful Life. My boy Time Well Spent, Ronald Young. I mean, these are just ones that pop off. Like,
that's awesome.
These are just quick. But there's many more. Common Sense by my boy Patrick. But the thing is, I can't consistently listen. I haven't listened to every single episode they released.
Yeah, no.
And then I have YouTube channels I follow. Like,
oh, okay.
But then I don't watch every single video.
I've never done that.
You know, like subscribe to someone because there's people that put out consistent content, like Casey Neistat and Gary Vandercheck, all these people. But there's so much that I can't watch. You can binge on YouTube, you can binge on podcasts, you can binge on books. So like I think I'm gonna try this experiment where I kind of in the beginning of the day want to say, what do I want to consume today?
Yeah, and
just not be overwhelmed with like not purging, but binging everything and say, okay, my goal was just to listen to one podcast and that one.
Yep.
And then if I listen to extra ones, it's a bonus for the day because there's so much information.
Yeah, that's
and like I said, there's so many stories. It's like, I love Master's Class by Oprah. She interviews famous people. I don't listen to it. I can't, like literally what I do is similar to that guy is I scroll through all of them and say, oh, I want to listen to the one about
this class, this person.
The Rock.
Yeah.
So I don't listen to them in a row. I just listen to the people I feel like I want to listen to.
No,
and then, like I said, I think that if I give it any story or YouTube video or whatever, I give it about a good solid 5 minutes in, and if it's not like, grabbing me within 5 minutes, I just go to the next one.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I'm sure for them, they got like 1 million people. Like, missing me is not going to do anything. No. Not one thing. That's a narcissistic if you're like, I'm done with them. Like, they didn't get my listen. Unsubscribe. I hate when people I hate when people say you lost a follower. Unsubscribe. They can care less.
Yeah. But it's also I like the idea that at that time that message didn't resonate, but it could later. And
that's true.
Like just like you said, like I'm not done with this person. I'm just done with this episode. I'll circle back, and they might have a different guest. It might be a different day, and
a different episode will catch me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've done that with different episodes where I jumped in and jumped out.
Yeah, so I like that.
Yeah, but you don't do that. I mean, honestly, listeners, if someone's on a TEDx speech on a stage, don't walk out. That's pretty rude.
Yeah, that's super rude. That's super rude.
That's super rude. Unless you really gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're talking about walking out on books and
videos.
When someone's putting themselves out there on stage, kind of be polite.
Yeah,
Don't get out your seat and say, "I'm subscribed to you."
Because then we'll have to re-edit that out. It's gonna be a nightmare. Please,
I think that'd be,
for the speaker and the team organizing it, please don't.
I wish someone would do that, like not to yours, but just to say like that's just to see how
I don't wish that on my worst enemy.
How would the world react to that? Like, I'm out of here.
Make that the talk.
Like,
make that the actual talk. Make it staged.
Oh, like someone in the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, like how did
that?
And then
the interruption is actually the talk itself.
Oh snap! Okay, I need a plant.
It's all.
Well, we can't use that idea now.
All Inception on you there.
Yeah. Maybe someone would be like, and then be like, and that, folks, is how you deal with adversity. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So, I love, we have a loose thing, but I love how you said that stories is how we learn and how we shape who we are and how we show us where we come from.
I wish I could take that quote. Is that me or is that someone else's?
I don't know. You put it in there with
I'll say that. I'll be safe and say that's probably not my own.
Yeah,
I'll say I've read that somewhere
anonymous?
or saw that somewhere. Anonymous. Yeah.
But the point is, I love it because I usually tell every student when you share your career journey, turn every story or every concept into a story, because one, it can give the person a little bit of background on who you are, but literally, the when you break down why people have interview questions, particularly behavioral interview questions, is that they want to know how you reacted to past. Will it be an indicator of your present? So how you face adversity in the past can tell an interviewer how you would address adversity in the present. So they want to say, tell me a time when you failed. They want you to be honest when you failed, but then they want you to say, what did you learn? What did you grow from it? Because it will show that when potential failure, which happens to everyone, you're going to fail again. It will happen again. How are you going to react to that? Or tell me a time you had a conflict with this person, or when you had an issue on your team, and you had to take that person through that story because they want to see that you are insightful and you can process and you have enough awareness of self to know if I can go back in a time machine and do things differently. And then if it comes up again, how you react. So I love how stories do become who we are, but there's a lot of lessons in it. And there's a lot of, basically it does shape who you are because, maybe when you share that story about a past transgression or thing, it makes you a stronger person. It made you then you're more appreciative of good things. So whoever wrote that quote, anonymous, is pretty good. And that's how you learn, because you learn from past
I agree
things.
that's absolutely. I pulled everything. I almost nothing's original at the end of the day. I mean, it's a part of you might modify it, you might adjust it, you might make it your own, you might internalize it and use it in your own way. But it's
that's another.
It's hard to say.
I always tell students when I say, think about, when you look for mentors or find out, it's like, I'm going to be quite honest with you kids. Nothing that you want to do in this world is completely original. You're original. Your DNA code is original, unless there's clones. I don't know. Identical twins. But the thing is, the only part that is unique is the combination of what you want to do.
And your lens.
Yeah, maybe
what you bring to it.
Maybe you want to be an engineer, but maybe no one's quite done it like you. or no one's. And then, but the thing is, since everything has been done before, always find people and their journey and their stories, and find out how they did it, and then ask them questions and take good ideas. Now, if they're not accessible, you can listen to their stories or read about them, biographies, but they are accessible, such as the guy from Foggy Bottom.
Yeah.
Set up a time and ask them questions.
Yep.
And then you get the blueprint.
Yep.
Like literally, I just solved all of world's problems. Like find out people that are doing things better than you. Ask them questions from a sense of being humble.
Mm-hmm. And genuine interest.
Genuine interest. Yeah. And say, you know what? This idea I'll do. This one, not, I won't. This one I'll do. I won't. I will. And you take the ideas that they've done and say, how can I do it in my own way? Like, you said my own way would be a different location, a different team,
different community.
But overall, the blueprint's there. I don't know. I think I love. The fact is, I love that when I tell people to do that, it's like the story part. We're gonna go back to that. What this episode's about is like, literally, if you take the time to listen to people's stories, you can find out from that story what you want to do.
And what I love, one of the things that, I mean, maybe I'm jumping the gun here a bit, but like that I've learned from the whole TED and from my position at State and things like that, everyone who has written an article, been interviewed, taken the TED stage, taken any stage, is putting themselves out there to be heard, but also then to be kind of to get in touch with people. Yes. They are actually, they might be hard to get to, but they are open if you take that extra little like nudge or go that extra mile, read the article and genuinely give them feedback and respond instead of just responding to someone saying, hey, I read your article, I'd love you to speak at my event. That's one thing, but say, hey, I love this article, it really resonated with me, this is why, I was wondering about this and this, and start the conversation, start the dialogue, give them feedback. Like everyone that's put their name on something, they signed something and they put their work out there is open to receiving feedback. Again, they might be hard to connect with because there's barriers and there's people that you can't get through to get to them. Yeah. But like offer honest feedback and that's welcome. Most people will be excited by that and it'll be fresh and it'll come in their inbox or it'll come through their DMs or it'll come through wherever. And you just keep putting that out there. Yeah. There's, I don't know how many hundreds of maybe thousands of messages I've sent just to speakers, to individuals, to people, just from an article that I read that said, hey, I love what you're doing. Like, I'd love to learn more.
So you're the king of sliding the DMs.
Well, I'm an email. I actually don't DM often. But like,
I get you, but I'm saying you shoot your shot. You come with it with a genuineness.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day too, though, but you also are aware that they won't respond.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've had so many like ghosts, like, but for good reason.
But then you got some surprises.
Absolutely, like, sure, absolutely.
Like, oh my gosh, this person actually responded.
Yeah.
I 100%. I also agree with that mindset. One of the things I thought, and this came to like reality to me, and I don't know, I literally can, quite honestly, I'll go up to anyone and talk to anyone, famous, not famous, like in my mindset, no one's on a pedestal, no one's God, whatever. But the thing is, when I say that without being cocky, is also I definitely go up to everyone, regardless of the president of the United States. To the janitor, is that I go with the respect, meaning yes sir, no sir.
That quote. Let's talk about the quote that we pulled.
Yeah.
The stories.
Again,
yeah. That's a perfect. So like, perfect segue.
But I'm saying that I say that with a sense of I'm not nervous or shy to do that message that you said because I'll say something like I'll say something nice like, hey, what's up? I'll be like, hello. I'm really inspired by X, Y, and Z, showing that I'm inspired. So
and listened,
I listened.
Internalized.
And then I also say, like, why it connected with me. And if you have any time, I would love to follow up with you. And when I've done it, I've been surprised at the people that actually said yes. And then I'm like, oh, my gosh, I didn't really expect them to say yes. And then also I've been okay with the no one ghosted me. Yeah. And that's fine. But I know that I'm going to treat everyone the same. And that I think that's been really freeing for me because when I thought of that mentally and taking everyone off of that pedestal, it's given me an opportunity to learn so much. And the key word was I get to learn.
Absolutely.
So like I get a benefit for me asking someone, hey, do you have the time, Mr. President, of of this university. Do you have time to do an informational interview? Worst case scenario, he says no. My day goes on. Best case scenario, he says yes. I ask him questions like, what do you like about your job? What don't you like? Tell me your journey. And I learned so much. I won. So I think that, I think it's great. And I think the quote you're referring to is like, every passing face on the street represents a story every bit as compelling and complicated as yours. Meaning like their story is no better or less compelling than mine. If you really look at a famous person that's reached the tip of the iceberg, they started somewhere small, just like you, or you and me. But they've done whatever they did to reach stardom and fame. Maybe some people have a greater resiliency for adversity, or they have a less care what the other people think gene, and they just, but they all started at the same spot. It's just a matter of finding out what they did. So, I mean, how did that quote resonate with you about everyone has a story?
I like that one also because, and this was on a long list of actually 88 just really interesting bits of info. You can probably post that afterwards, right?
I'll put them in the show notes.
Okay, that'd be cool. It's from raptitude.com, getting better at being human. But like it was, and this I pulled from one of the blogs I read all the time, Farnham Street. This one just meant that like everyone has something, and just because you don't know what it is, and that's like there's complicated, there's depth there. They're going through something, and they have something that they're overcoming. They have something that they're about to take on. They have something, an interesting like crossroads in their life that they're mulling over. So whether you see them on the trail running or in the elevator, like just because they might seem just like your everyday person doing a 9-to-5 clocking it, they might have and probably have an amazing, incredible story of how they got to where they are, what they did to get there, and they could be the happiest person that you've never met.
One quote was, I don't know, a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. That's one. Or I like people for therefore they like me, meaning that if you like people in general in humanity, you put that positive out and then people like you. Not just like a fake nice, but I'm just saying like it's how you approach everyone. If you approach everyone, I like to. I have two like things that come to mind. My wife is like, I don't know if it's my wife or girls in general, but I was like, girls always start with you have to earn it. Like I meet a girl for the first time and they're like, who does she think she is? And then they meet her and they're like, okay, she's cool, right? Like the girl has to earn the coolness or trust. I'm more like everyone is great and people have to prove to me that they're mean. Like I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and then they're like, okay, that person really showed me who they are. They, not everyone's nice, and they show me that people are mean or whatever. And it's like almost like I'm a little puppy dog. Like I'm my dog that's passed out on the couch. Like I'm wagging my tail and I'm happy to see everyone until they're like one of those guys that like, I don't like dogs, whatever. But I think that's just how I approach it. I rather think I love to meet new people and learn about new people, and then from those reactions with new people, I've made a lot of new friends. And then the people that are not want to be my friend, that's okay. And I've learned though is that over time I've gotten less and less hurt by it. Like I used to be so hurt, like no one wants to be not no one, but everyone doesn't want to be my friend. Like a kid. I used
quality over quantity.
Exactly. I've learned that.
You only have so much time.
I guess I gotta be like Netflix.
So you gotta
I gotta be like Netflix. This one doesn't bring me joy right now. Unsubscribe. But I think that I love that. I love when I meet new people. I think, and I was joking with her, but she's really good at it too, is that I don't know if I have the ability or just I like to meet new people and I'm just ask a lot of questions, but I'll meet people for the first time and those compelling stories. I don't know why, but I get so many crazy stories from meeting people, whether it's at the bar or on campus or whatever. I like talk to someone for 5 minutes and before I leave, I'm like, I knew they had like 2 divorces and failed businesses and now they're success. And
failed businesses are like the badge of honor now these days.
Like I heard so many failed businesses stories.
And people say that with pride. Yeah.
Well, because it is a badge of honor because like
you tried something.
Well, also you need to fail before you know what business looks like or good. I mean, hopefully, you entrepreneurs right there, fail but bounce back. It's not true. But I think that's another thing about bridging connection and humanity, is that um, that below the surface, knowing that when you look at someone and you look at them as a story rather than just, he's black, he's white, but let's really think about it. He, is smart, and he
dedicated to his family,
and has kids, and you pull out the wallets and you see their cute kids, and then they come from a home, and maybe they're the first person to go to college, and you just listen to someone's whole life story. I mean, I think you realize the humanity, like you realize why would you want to hurt someone? Why wouldn't you want everyone to live good? It's because people bring that whole story to them.
And I started taking, actually, I mentioned this earlier, started taking improv classes just to do something new, something kind of, that's new, that scares you, which is a terrifying idea to take the stage. But it's all about the lens.
Yes.
And the lens is you as an individual, how you perceive what's happening.
Right.
How you, again, take in your information, how you give your presentations, how you do. It's all about the lens, and you add that regardless. There's no completely unbiased reporting. There's no completely unbiased article. You have a lens, and you can try and stay as clear cut and down the middle as possible, and reporting the facts. Yes. But it will have your lens, and that's okay.
Yes.
And it's supposed to. Right. And
as long as your lens ain't trash.
Yeah. I mean,
and not negative.
Yeah.
I like to say we have a positive lens, aka positive filter. But like that lens, like how do you view that lens to? I like to say, how do you view the lens to make it a growth opportunity, or make the world better, or make others better, and use that lens, how you see things, like rather than see a problem as just a problem. See a problem as a challenge.
Yeah, and that would be your lens.
And that would be your lens.
Yeah, your lens.
So like you can flip it. You can flip your lens to help you or hurt you, or help others and hurt others. Is how you use that lens. I think that's definitely dope. And then I, when you were doing this idea for the TEDx, right? And this guy gave you that forewarning. This is harder than it was. Did you say yeah, and then you had to live your own story, and now you have. Maybe when you pass it down to someone else, you're like, "This, let me tell you something."
The first thing I say is, if anyone comes to me and asks if they're going to start their own, I'm like, you know what you should do? It's going to be harder than you think, but you should come work with us on one before you do it.
Perfect training ground.
That's it. And if you like it, and if this organized chaos behind the scenes, is where you thrive, a situation that excites you, and is something that you want to take on, then you'll feel more compelled to do a better job.
Got it.
That's it. So that's what we always try and say.
The apprentice mindset, the internship mindset.
Yeah.
Try it out. See if you like it first. Experience it first. I think that's perfect. I think that's a great idea. I mean, I think that's a great tip. I mean, that's a professional tip, man. You should be a career counselor. Take my job.
I would need a job.
Just say, take my job. That's what it is. I mean, I think that's a great advice.
I mean, I think that's huge.
Huh?
I think that's huge.
You have to experience it for yourself.
You can talk. You can say it's going to take long. You can say it's going to be stressful. You can say it's going to be hard to raise the money. You can say it's going to be hard to say no to people that really are deserving of the stage.
Yes.
But until you've done it, until you've been involved in it, until you've sat on that team, until you've been up till 3 a.m. the night before setting the stage for speakers that are coming at 8 a.m. the next morning.
Right.
Like, you're on a vacation. You're not living the life. You're
so what's the
walking in
windows?
park.
I mean, take us through. I mean, what is the window like? Is it chill? Oh my God, it's like a week out to the event, and then it's craziness. I mean, it seems like, because you're not like, you got real jobs and everything. So it seems like it probably will intensify closer to an event.
It like ebbs and flows. Like there's peaks. So it's like there's certain deadlines that you just have to hit. Speakers, certain X months out, 6 to 8 months out. Venue got to be locked down. Like catering budgets due. So it's chill, and then it's like deadline. Bam! Like we're on all weekend locked down. And we all have different workflows, which is very important. As the three co-founders, one travels a lot. Actually, two of us travel a lot. One of us has a couple kids, and it's amazing.
That's a real deal.
He doesn't work weekends, but he made that very clear. But he busts his ass during the week,
I would
and
agree.
he saves that personal time. And honestly, he's not the only one volunteering. His whole family is volunteering because they're giving up time with him.
That's
so
true.
it's
That's
like
true.
it's not just like
I understand that father life. You know, what I'm saying?
exactly.
We're in the basement.
So it has to be.
I understand
the deadlines have to work for all of us to incorporate.
And as you said earlier, this is volunteer.
Yes. Yeah, like it doesn't. We aren't eating any. This doesn't pay any of the bills.
But so if it's volunteer, there's a, for people, when I tell students they're volunteering, the tangible benefit they get is something to put on their resume and all that, or connections, or the experiential learning. What are the
my favorite, the one thing you haven't said yet is you meet other people that also like to volunteer.
Right. Okay.
So you're meeting other people that also like that thing. That care about that thing, that empathize with that subject. So if you volunteer at a homeless shelter or a no-kill dog shelter, like you're meeting other people that also feel that same way. And so you're going to have some connection with all of those people that might carry over to work, to romance, that might be friendship, like any of those. But you're starting with this very sincere, genuine, true, like
shared vision.
Of who you are. Shared vision. Yeah.
Shared vision and a sense of purpose.
Yeah. And so that's where the volunteering at a young age, and that's the other thing. Volunteers. I went to the volunteer Fairfax breakfast, and there's a youth volunteer that won like for 500 hours or something of volunteering. Man, this young lady, she's like 17.
Yes.
And she's already volunteering like this. The sky's the limit. Like there is no one that has like made it, quote unquote, that wouldn't bend over backwards to give someone that's showed from an early age that they can volunteer, deliver, and do something, and have that empathy, have built that into their fabric. The job that they want, like that's their cachet. That's their working capital. Like the resumes are great, the grades are all inflated. Like that doesn't. I mean, it matters. You need certain papers. You need certain credentials.
Yes.
You can check those boxes with a certain amount of money. We've seen those scandals happening
for sure.
But you can't really lie about the volunteerism. If you check with a volunteer coordinator, they'll tell you straight up.
They write it in. And also, I like that intangible benefit. I mean, another part about service is that, I don't know, I really don't want to butcher brother Martin Luther King. He's alpha. I like this. and in fact, I don't know. But he's, the greatest responsibility to use your talents. Like, your talents go to waste is how to use your talents to serve humanity or volunteer. So, like, if you're a great speaker, what are you using your voice to not just promote yourself? Are you using your voice to volunteer and help others? You're talented in organizing. I could tell right now, writing things down. I'm just saying, being organized. How are you using your talent to volunteer? You're using your volunteerism and organization to organize events. Someone else is the best singer, and they sing at church.
Yep.
So, like, you find your talents, and not only do you need to make a paycheck, use your talents to propel yourself financially and help yourself financially, but are you also using your talents in a sense that gives bigger purpose to others and serve others? I think because we are meant to serve, and I think that I think that's a good stage, like, for anyone that's a good speaker.
Absolutely.
Is to speak and be good professional speakers.
And you can learn on the job as a volunteer.
Yes.
You're not going to get fired if you mean well.
I love that. Yes.
Like, you will and could get fired if you mess up bad enough.
I mean, you come in there drunk or something.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, the volunteering too.
Yeah. But and that's like that's probably there's indication of a bigger issue.
Exactly.
but so hopefully that's a cry for help.
Yes.
But like, honestly, like, you're allowed and you're supposed to learn. So that you hone your skills, because
you
might
mistakes.
have a huge. You might be able to volunteer, and like you said, the speaking thing's a great thing. If you volunteer, because we don't pay any of our speakers, obviously, you can get in front of 600 people. You can get in front of 2,000 people. You typically don't get that kind of audience, and they're volunteering their time and their voice and their vision and their idea, and we are just kind of building the stadium in which, or giving them the microphone. Like, that's, you get potentially a bigger audience. You get to hone your skills, you get to practice, you get to meet people. There's like all these benefits, and when no one in the room has been kind of paid for what they've done, and they do it because they just love doing it, or there's like that
it's a
service.
good vibe. It's fun.
It's a good vibe. It's a different vibe that you don't get much in Northern Virginia. specifically, there's a lot of in DC.
Let's speak on that.
There's like the force networking, who do you work for, who do you work with, who's your boss, who's
you're trying to stun on everyone's trying to stun on each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they say that we're the most per capita educated area in the United States.
Yeah.
Or I guess so, because they said per capita we have the most graduate degrees or higher.
I believe that.
Because everyone with degrees come here and work in government and all these doctors and masters.
Yeah.
But also comes with that is a lot of snobbiness. I met someone here that said they didn't feel comfortable. Like, if you don't have a college degree, you're like kind of feel like you're looked down on in the DC area. And you're right, like that. Who do you? I'm gonna start when someone asks me what I do for work, I'm gonna just list off my I'm gonna say aspiring rapper.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say something random.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna say they're like, what do you do? Like, I'm gonna say aspiring rapper, which I'm not joking. Eventually, someday, I'm gonna drop one mixtape and retire from the rap game, and I'm just really gonna see how people. You're right, like approach that.
I mean, here in this area, I mean, there's a lot of
aspiring rapper.
I'm sure New York's the same, LA's the same, in a different industry.
I bet if you said to LA you're an aspiring rapper, I bet they might take you a little bit more serious.
Well, I mean, no, there's probably a lot more of them out there.
Exactly.
Here,
so you gotta say something different. LA.
Here it'd be like the same as I'm gonna run for Congress. Everyone's like, okay,
yeah,
like you know what I mean. So like, it is
a lot of and I think volunteering is and that you're right in that atmosphere.
Through the bullshit.
And also it gives you a lot to just meet genuine people that like to be happy and meet people and be nice and really, I don't really care what you do. You really don't care what I do.
You're meeting people.
But
you're meeting people.
I like you.
Yeah.
I like your story. And all that
mask
stuff.
off.
Yeah. Hey, mask off. That's that Future John. He's dropping bars in here. See, you need to have more nicknames, man. He's dropping bars in here. Yeah, you might be on my next mixtape. I know I'm gonna send you like, he thinks I'm playing, but I literally have a voice memo, and when I say I don't have raps, I literally just have only hooks, like only hooks.
There we go. What's the best song in America right now? Isn't that just like or whatever that 2-minute?
Oh, the Country Road one?
Yeah. Isn't that basically a little longer than that?
It's like a Vine song. So,
yeah.
I mean,
you got it.
I'm there, man. I just need fire beats. Whoever can produce rap songs.
Didn't you buy those for $50? I mean, in the end, he bought them for more because
you can buy beats.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm about to have my mixtape. It's gonna be on Dat Piff.
Yeah,
Get ready.
Like, honestly, I think
by the end of 2019, my mixtape will be for free.
Do it.
I mean, it's for free. You can download it, but I'm gonna do it. So we're coming to the part of my show. We're almost at an hour. We're coming to the part called Shot for Shot. Now, technically, we are drinking some bourbon, so we can fill up later. But the real point of Shot for Shot is that you get to ask me any random question you want. I get to ask you any random question.
Ooh.
It doesn't even have to be about storytelling. It could be totally random. And I answer it. You want to go first? I'll go first.
I'll let you go first because I want to see how deep we're getting, how real we're getting. Yeah, I don't want to start. I don't want to start at a 10 if we're starting at a 2.
One person did hit me my first time I did this and was like, "What's the meaning of life?" And why do you? And I was like about to cry, and I was like, "Dude, why you do that?" And then I answered because we were both counselors. It was one of my friends. He was trying to do a counseling session on my own podcast. But okay.
I think we ease into it. Like in improv, you build up to a 10. You start at like a 5 or a 6, and you build up to like a 10.
All right. So, tell me the last book that you picked up and you completely finished because it was like you had to finish it, like that we talked about earlier. And then opposite, tell me the last book or most recent book where you read and you stopped immediately. So you had 2 books, the one you finished and the one you didn't.
Yeah. So the one I finished was probably The Art of Gathering.
Okay.
Blanking on the author, but it was amazing. And honestly, it's almost like what I do for a living. It's organizing events that have impact and unique events that people will remember.
Is it tell you how to do it book? Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Art
it's
of Gathering.
Amazing. The Art of Gathering.
All right, and what's one that you started and you just dropped immediately?
I'm still gonna finish it.
You're trying to?
Yeah, Factfulness.
All right, what's that one about?
It talks about how it's amazing. Hans Rosling, Dutch guy, he's actually recently passed away, but his daughter and her husband have carried on his work. They talk about it's from 2018, so it's relatively new still. how the world's not as bad as we think it is.
Oh man, I love that kind of book.
It's a really good book.
So what do they mean they're not as bad? Like what they say? Like
it talks about poverty, talks about starvation, talks about disease, talks about wealth gap, talks about emerging nations. Like
so, what part is it saying it's not that bad? Like there's
all
not
of
that,
it.
there's not that
All
much
of it.
1%. Like
All of it.
a lot of people have more money than
All
you
of
think
it.
about it.
All
I
of
would
it.
think wage
It's
gap.
amazing.
I think wage gap would be.
No, so they're talking. So
I would say like there's probably not as bad.
I haven't finished, so I can't speak to this. But it's an amazing book. If this is something that you're interested in,
Well, I'm interested.
factfulness.
I'm actually interested in someone saying that things are not as bad as they are. So
Yeah,
I like to learn.
it's
that.
awesome.
I like if it's a
and
positive.
And he uses the facts.
That's what I'm saying. If they look
That's
at
the
a
thing.
positive
Yes.
world lens with facts.
No, yeah.
So does he try to say there's like no climate change? Like the world's okay?
I haven't finished it. I don't know. I haven't finished
that's
it.
pretty scary.
The one I got to. No. Like it is so you look at it. It was like
Right.
on Obama's list of best books of 2018.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was Bill and Melinda Gates' best book of 2018. So I'm telling you, if honest to God, if in this book he does the case against climate change and they still were like on board with this, it's the facts. Like this book is very interesting. I don't know. I haven't finished it. I think the first 2 or 3 chapters. There's 10 parts of the book.
All right.
It talks about how access to information makes things seem worse because we're getting real time news. We're getting visuals. We're getting pictures. We're hearing about a small thing that is a big deal in a remote part of the world that we would have never heard about 50 years ago because we just didn't have that kind of coverage. So and you're talking about and this is oversimplifying.
We got more people
way.
though. We got more people. So I mean, I guess the numbers of people dying is higher, but we have more people.
Yeah.
So maybe if you look at it with percentages, maybe it's not as high.
We got to read the book. I don't want to butcher it. I don't because I feel like I'm just now.
Does it have a lot of lists? Like this fact is
facts,
this?
numbers, facts, numbers. It's
okay.
good. It's
Facts
good.
Numbers.
It's
All
good.
right.
Factfulness.
I might factfulness. All right.
So that's the one I'm in. It's one of these books where I read a section. There's 10 sections, so I can read a section and I can read another book.
Okay. I can
I can do that. So I haven't put it down and forgotten about it.
All right.
So I kind of cheated on that question.
Gotcha. All right, go ahead. Ask me whatever question.
What's the last thing you've changed your mind about? And I don't just mean like, usually
like a person?
anything, position, financial, like political, financial, like anything. What, like it was something that you believed to your core, that you've then analyzed again. You've resurfaced, you brought back up, and you're like, well, actually, I've changed, or this has changed, and I've learned more. So at that time when I made that decision, I didn't know what I know now, and so I'm actually gonna pivot. I'm gonna change my point of view on something.
All right, so this will be different. I used to think that I was not meant for the world of work.
Okay.
I legit firmly believe that I was just gonna work and just get a paycheck, and that I was not. This is a confidence. This might go to a 10. That I wasn't good at anything professionally. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't take work that serious, or I was just doing work to get a paycheck, or I was never good enough. I was never going to accomplish anything. These are all just really deep-seated insecurities. Mm-hmm. And then I think I aligned myself with a good supervisor and a good boss. And then I started being tapped into my skills and meeting people. And then I don't know.
So you changed it about yourself. That's
interesting. It was
awesome.
It was more like I almost was to the point where I was like, if this last job that I have doesn't work out, I need my wife to make more money so I can be a stay-at-home dad. That's like the only time I felt like I was good at something, as being a dad. And then I just didn't think I was good for the world of work. Let me rephrase. I didn't think I was gonna get fired. I just didn't think that working was for me. That's not in a lazy way, just like being in an organized, structured work environment.
I mean, but the stay-at-home dad, like that, the value in raising your kids is amazing. So that's
100%. That was good.
But what I'm saying is like your work you didn't value it. It didn't inspire you. Whereas
that's what it was.
Staying home,
that's what
you
it was.
Loved being with your kids.
So that was what it was. I didn't.
Why am I here?
I didn't think there was a professional avenue where I'd feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. This is
value, inspiration, energized.
This I'm energized, where I'm good at it, where people have told me I'm good at it.
And so you're like, why wouldn't I be home with my family? I love that.
Where I get positive affirmations. Yeah. And then randomly, I don't know. I just did good things at work, and I got more and more confident, and that was switched. But it was a very firm. It was like I think it was an over time core belief that I wasn't meant for work. because of just past experiences. And I didn't go to college and know what I wanted to do, and then after college I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it's this sense of just floating professionally.
Yeah,
floating professionally. But I think that firm belief is done. Now I have goals, and I don't know what I want to do, but I know that I actually like a certain aspect of working.
Yeah.
But the certain aspect that taps into my strengths, meaning meeting people. I'm not the most organized, but places where I can talk, things like that. So that was a really core belief. And my wife even agree that she was worried that I was going to just be, like the old-fashioned stereotype where the dad comes home grumbling just because he's got to have a job and was just tired all the time and not energized from work.
Oh, there's this.
And now I'm very happy because I was leaning toward just doing that.
There's a government joke. R.I.P. Retired in place.
What does that mean? Like you already retired?
No, it was you dead. R.I.P.
Like
retired in place.
Like you already.
You're a zombie.
You're a zombie. You're literally just going through motions.
Yeah. R.I.P.
That would be terrible, but that's where I think I was.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's you were.
And people do that.
Describing that.
And people do that.
Oh my God, yeah.
They said over only 20% or only 20% of the world says that they're actively engaged in work. And this is a Gallup Strengths Finder. I'm all about that. And only 32% of United States Americans say that they're being utilized or tapped in to their strengths at work.
Wow.
Only 32%.
Interesting.
But think about it, like, you got a big extrovert like me, and then you put me in a cubicle and tell me to do paperwork all day.
There's also that hilarious college projects when it's like you're in a group and you're with 4 people, and it's like, how am I the only person that does work? You're that 30%, or you're the 25%. When you have a group project or group paper, and it's like, you're supposed to be doing this collectively. You're supposed to be doing this together. Yeah. And it's like, oh, it'd be great. We could all do this together. But no, it ends up being one person that's driving.
Quite honestly, I don't do, if it's paperwork, I'm trash. Like, writing essays. And I used to work at a financial aid office for a local community college. I try to say no shade because I don't want them to sue me. Not like they're going to listen to my episodes. I used to get in trouble for looking at YouTube videos and stuff because I just literally was so bored out of my mind processing applications. Come to find out, I know my strengths. I'm a woo, communication, positivity, empathy. I could say all that. None of those was analytical and paperwork and organized. Yeah. Like, literally, some people in this world are slowly killing themselves at work. And what they're doing, they're killing themselves through, as we know, through daily stress and not finding their purpose. It's just eventually taking its toll on you.
Floating.
And it's...
What's it?
And there's good floating. One of my favorite movies of good floating is Forrest Gump. Because remember you said maybe we're floating and they show that little feather. But he was floating purposefully, kind of in a way where he's meeting people and all that. But there's also that other sense of floating where it's just like you're not catching on anything. You're no direction, no growth. And I think so many people are doing it. I think that's the saddest part about adulthood and growing up and losing that sense of wonder and being a kid. It's like, why can't we just be silly at work? Like, who told me that we need to have a professional feel and a work feel? Why can't my professional feel be funny and jokey and whatever, but also still get my job done?
Yeah.
And so I finally found like that. Like, my office knows ill feel.
Yeah.
There's no separation. Now, mind you, I have a ill feel light at work.
Yeah. An ill filter.
Ill filter. The light version, the sugar-free zero calorie fill at work, but it's still my authentic self. My boss knows I'm goofy, whatever. But I think one of the things that changed that mindset of bringing myself to work, or the viewpoint, which was I think the bigger issue was the core of who I am. Like, I cannot bring this core of who I am to work because that is not acceptable. Not. Until I found a supervisor that says, it is acceptable, but let's channel that core of who you are into something productive. So meaning, if I need someone to go talk to someone, I'm sending Phil. If I need someone to write a 20-page analytical report about the outcomes of career services, I'm not giving that assignment to Phil. Now, maybe Phil can go interview people to get you data for that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll get you the numbers.
Yeah.
But I'm not writing that report.
Yeah.
That's not my skill set.
That's smart, and that's leadership. That's a supervisor that's amazing.
Oh, she's amazing.
That's awesome.
She'll listen to this later, Tracy. Whatever. But I mean, that was a good episode. Now we are at the episode section. The stage is yours, called shout outs and plugs. Shout out every thing. Shout out the people that inspire you, help you, and then plug in any venture that you're working on that I want you to put in the show notes so that the listeners.
When does this come out?
This one's gonna come out August 5th.
Okay.
Or August 12th.
Okay.
I'll put August 5th or 12th.
Okay.
Because I'm taking my little recording break right now.
Okay, cool. Well, it's good to know. That'll depend. That'll change what I plug.
I want to say August 5th.
Okay.
August 5th
August
or 12th.
is perfect. Okay, August is perfect.
Okay.
So is it shout outs and plug? Shout outs and plug?
Well, shout outs and plugs.
Shout outs and plugs. I mean, I'll make it quick. I mean, there's obviously I'm not going to be able to hit everybody. Seriously, it's been my family that's been able to kind of help guide me through this, to take this crazy idea that I had and like kind of chip away at it and help me mold it into something that I was able to then bring to anyone else. And this idea is like this, based again on this TED stuff of just like buy the ticket, go to the TEDx Foggy Bottom, and then talk about that with my family. They were my sounding board, close friends of mine, and then go back, bring this to the meeting, have the confidence to bring this up because they also thought TED was cool. They didn't know much about it either, but they're like, go for it, you got to do this. And then immediately in that room to have two people step up and say, not only do I know, only in that room there's 20 people, 5 of them knew what it was back then, what TED was. Two of those are my co-organizers. So right away, out of the gates, if everyone in that room had said no, man, it would have been tough to overcome that. Like,
that's
it would have been tough. It was the first time you put your idea out there.
Yes.
You don't really know how it's going to be received. And immediately to find two people that we're in, not only are we in, we're doing this together. And it's been 5 years now. This is our 5th year.
5, wow, that's big. That's a real job.
So again, timing was lucky. The support was there. So, the team, the speakers that have used this opportunity to take it seriously, to train with our speaker coaches, to understand that this is a tool that they can use to help spread their message, to help grow the idea that they're supporting or they're spreading. And so everyone involved in that, the people that believed in us from day one, and honestly, the people that don't, the people that give us the feedback that says that event was too long, that event was boring, I didn't like that. Like we want constructive feedback, but we don't want to be told you're doing something. We're demand driven. As soon as people don't want this anymore, we're done. Like we're volunteers. Again, we do this because the community buys the tickets, they show up, they come to our events, they apply to be speakers. That's it. So plug is August, we'll have our speakers selected. Our main event will be in the fall. Date is TBD. Exact date is TBD. The theme will probably be revealed over the summer. It's been accepted, but we have to find out kind of how we're gonna do the big reveal. And it's gonna be this one will be very interesting. It'll be we're at a crossroads. We can go one of two ways with our main event, and this event could be unlike any we've ever thrown before. And I guess you'll just have to wait until August to get that info in the subtext down below.
Now, what about your book? Shout out your book.
Oh, my book. So I wrote this book with actually a TEDx speaker. He's a local publisher called Andrew Chapman, Social Motion Publishing. He publishes books that have a social cause. The last page highlights a project, a nonprofit, or a person that's working on something amazing. So the book is a tool to educate the children ages 7 to 10. And then the last page is kind of that call to action. So you don't just put it down. You go do something with it. So our book, my book that I co-wrote with my good friend of mine, Sam Scott, it's called Sip the Straw. It's on Amazon. Love for you to get a copy, but I'd love for you to give a copy And honestly, I'd love for you to get a couple copies to give to your local library. So what I've heard in Northern Virginia is if your local library has 3 to 5 copies of a new book, and our book's not much, they'll put that into kind of circulation, and so kids can rent it. They can bring it home.
So
they can read it.
They need more than one book to rent.
Yeah.
Books.
So if you don't have nieces or nephews or kids that age yourself, and you have a local library that you love to support, not my book. I mean, maybe I'd love you to do my book, but a book that you love. Do that. Walk in there, see what book they want, they don't have, and drop it off and talk to them. So
you learn something new all the time.
Do something.
Perfect. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the episode.
Thanks.
I enjoyed you. My dog enjoyed you.
He slept through it. It was great.
He said it was great. You're always welcome. Thank you for serving. Like I said, you're serving the community in a huge way. That's the biggest thing we can do with our gifts and talents. And catch you later.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening to Positive Filter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.